So every visitor could, if he had a question, just look around, find a guy in a green T-shirt, and he could help you. And so that's, well, I don't know what to say else.
Yeah, yeah, it's also helpful from a crowd point of view, that if someone in the crowd can easily identify someone who's actually authentically part of the organization that's involved, and they can easily ask a question, it's helpful for the crowd.
For FOSDEM, we also do the put staff in T-shirts, and we try to get the most obnoxious colors possible for staff T-shirts, and the cheapest T-shirts which disintegrate on sweat. And this year, well, we started standardizing on yellow or bright orange. And the problem, we had a little discussion here just before we started this official panel discussion about the damn T-shirts. And I was wondering if anyone else had an algorithm for actually deciding how many T-shirts to print. Because I tried graphing the ones for FOSDEM, and it's, okay, you get 1,000 T-shirts, and then, okay, 1,000 T-shirts, but not all geeks are the same size. So how do you figure out the Gauss curve of the size?
Yeah, and one thing we've also done is that we haven't put the date of the conference on the T-shirt, and I think Frostcon do this as well, so that if you have spillover to the next one, they're not printed with 2009, they're printed with just general name of conference, so you can sell them the next time, or you can give them away the next time.
That's really cheap.
That's cheap.
That's cheap, man. Don't do that. That's rough. So you turn up and you go, brilliant, I get a T-shirt, and it's last year's T-shirt.
You wouldn't know.
That's another thing. Always get a different design for T-shirts every year, so people keep coming back. And if you have too many T-shirts, just recycle. If you have too many visitors, recycle the T-shirts from last year, and your population will drop.
Before we move on, we were mentioning speakers as well before this. Did you have the likes of Mark Shuttleworth at FOSDEM?
No.
Was it? Oh, you had Mark Shuttleworth. Do you want to talk on that? How did you get Shuttleworth?
We sent him an email. One of the things that's interesting is think of the speakers that you like, and then they're just ordinary people. You know, I mean, most of them. There's kind of an inclination to think, but these people are like internet celebrities. I can't send them an email, you know. But you just drop them off a mail and say, we'd like you to come and speak. It won't always work. Every year for Lug Radio Live, I've emailed Chuck D from Public Enemy to say, come and talk. And every year I get a thing from his PA saying, Mr. Chuck will not be coming to the United Kingdom. But it's always worth just send people a mail. You know, the worst they can say is no, bugger off. So give it a try.
Yeah.
Sorry? Yes, absolutely. You know, just mail. We've had people from television, all that kind of thing. You just send them an email.
Yeah. Also, building contingency for people who drop out. We had Richard Stallman on our first conference on the schedule, and he decided to go to Brazil instead. So he didn't turn up. So one of our...
I'm very sorry.
Yeah. He also has a hilarious rider. You can find it online. It's about 22 pages of stuff that I need if I go somewhere. You had a similar problem, didn't you?
It wasn't a problem. He showed up. He came to. No, it wasn't a problem at all. It was great. Well, no, I mean, Stallman is an amazing guy, but he came to one of our conferences, and we didn't know he was going to come. And that was the year where we didn't have the downstairs part. We only had the upstairs and a bunch of little tiny rooms. And unfortunately, we had to stick him in one of the little tiny rooms, and the entire 6th floor was filled with people trying to get into those rooms to see him on an unscheduled talk. And then we had him as a keynote more recently. And the amazing thing about Richard is that you know, a lot of people are very needy, and they need to be handheld and all kinds of things taken care of. But when he's in New York City, he just wants to be left alone, and he can deal with himself, and it's great. And you know, you find all kinds of surprises with speakers where you think it's going to be more difficult than it is, making sure everybody's happy. But sometimes they just they get into the spirit of it, and they have a great time themselves. But the thing is, what you guys are saying is true. You just got to try. You got to try and ask people, and don't ever be convinced that this person is out of reach. They're all human beings. It's possible to simply make that connection. I mean, I never thought we'd get Adam Savage, but because of one person in Australia, we did. And a lot of times your attendees can be very helpful insofar as having connections, making suggestions to people you might not have thought of. So by all means, pursue those.
Absolutely. So what was the question or the point for celebrities?
And if you have heard a no from a speaker in the past, try it again.
Yeah.
So try it again every year, and after some time, they will say yes.
Yeah. David, for TourCon or TourCon?
Yeah, so TourCon, originally when we started out, you know, in the US there's a zillion different small hacker conferences out there, and so it was a little bit more difficult for us to get started, but basically we started the San Diego 2600 meeting, and we just invited all of our friends down. We had maybe about 60 people crammed inside of a small room at UCSD for the first year, but then after that, we just went to a bunch of different conferences, threw parties, handed out stickers, you know, people that we wanted to see talk at our conference, we go up to them after their talk and say like, hey, you know, it'd be great if you could come out to the conference, please come to our party, you know, basically make friends with all the people that we found really interesting and wanted to have them come to the conference. And what happened was that over the years, they would end up coming, you know, give their talk, and they would just keep on coming back and telling their friends to come. And so I think it's mostly just fostering the sort of, you know, environment and inviting the people to your conference that you want to have add to the conference. And you know, over time, you'll get lots of people coming. We also have done the whole thing where we've emailed, you know, random people like Bruce Schneier, you know, and and.
Did you have any luck getting Schneider?
What's that?
Did you have any luck getting Schneider?
Yeah, he spoke at TourCon number 6 or 7 or something like that.
Excellent. So it's all very doable. Just be persistent. Just put pressure on and use whatever contacts you have. So if you know some guy who works in development in Google, get him to ask someone in marketing, someone in HR, if you can possibly get Eric Schmidt along. So it's very possible.
Yeah, and I mean, we had Emmanuel at, I think it was TourCon number 2 or 3 or something like that. And so, yeah, I guess just ask people, go up to them at conferences, try to make a presence at other conferences and stuff. And then also in response to the T-shirt thing, we only give out free T-shirts to people that pre-register. Okay. And when you pre-register, you select your T-shirt size, and then we just do 20% on top of that for other people. But yeah, that's how we figure out our bell curves and stuff like that.
Esther, how do you get speakers? This is your first year this year.
This is the first year, so it was a little bit tricky, but as Hikari pointed out, as you make connections to other speakers, you know, from other conferences, you might just as well mail them, ask them to come around, whether they want to be a visitor or a speaker, and probably do this soon enough, a little bit sooner than we did. Now, PlumberCon had 27 speakers this year, 5 of which were remote speakers, which means because of the bad economic crisis, speakers were not able to fly in from the States, and we weren't able to pay this. So we figured we'd just have, you know, an iChat presentation view. iChat is really nice for this. With 5 of these speakers. The problem is, never do this. Don't ever. This is so much trouble. It was fun. The talks were really, really, really interesting, but the overhead of working these calls out is a little bit huge. So the problem that we had was, of course, we tested all these call-ins with our speakers. However, I did this under the week. Like, it was work week. People were at their working place with like 100 meg or 1 gigabit Ethernet lines, right? So they called in again on a Saturday from home, and all of a sudden their uplink is like seriously broken. This is things that you should expect from, well, yeah, obviously, other than in real life, you get a lot of technical difficulties. Nevertheless, people at the conference, like visitors, would have told me that this or that talk was really interesting. They met these speakers probably here again and would talk to them again. So it definitely is probably a choice if you want to speak really, really badly. However, you should be aware of the fact that this holds some difficulties.
First law of conferences, everything that can possibly go wrong will go wrong, and even more wrong than you ever thought possible would go wrong.
No, absolutely.
This is actually not really true.
It is.
Day 3 was pretty calm.
Wait for next year. Wait for your second conference.
You need to be able to think on your feet a lot. Be able to say, all right, our switch just fell over, no one's got networking, get one quickly. You know, who's got a switch on them?
Networking is always interesting. The problem with hacker conferences is